Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It's Eric Coffin. I'm at the January 2025 Metal Investors Forum in Vancouver. I'm here with Charles Funk. He's the CEO of Heliostar Metals. If you're not aware, the company Heliostar has been extremely active for the last year. Charles, it seems, just is doing deal after deal after deal. One of the things that you've noted was you were able to get an extremely cheap deal for 4 mine projects from Argonaut, or the former Argonaut. And a big part of the reason for that is there's a lot of concern about permitting in Mexico. I haven't seen anything that makes it less concerning, but it sounds to me like you guys are in fact seeing some stuff down there where you're actually starting to see some movement, and it looks like things are going to get better.
Yeah, I think, first of all, we have to acknowledge that we got this opportunity because AMLO wasn't a president favourable to mining. And I think it speaks to Mexico's mining pedigree that the most anti-mining president in the history of the country wasn't able to change the mining law. That core DNA of Mexico has stayed the same. And so the combination of weak gold prices, Argonaut's particular challenges, and AMLO, I think, is why we got the deal of a lifetime.
Right.
And so you were hearing rumours late last year that the new president Claudia Sheinbaum, was going to be more open in certain circumstances. And you saw the first concrete evidence of that with the 100-step plan, which was actually finalised on Monday and released as the Mexico plan.
Right.
And that lays out an opening up of getting new claims back to the old system, which is quite a positive step. And us personally, the meetings that we're having with the permits that we have in play, we're making progress on. So I think in the first half of this year, there might be a theme, which is a return to certainty in the permitting process in Mexico.
Okay. That would be a huge boost for a lot of companies. It would be a huge boost for you guys. I mean, I think the market's not giving you nearly as much value as it probably should, in part because of this. Now you picked up these 4 projects. 2 of them are, operating. I mean, I think Argonaut was just sort of, they kind of finished up, and they were just sort of sucking the last bit of the gold out of the heap leach pads. But you're actually putting them back, literally into production in terms of moving rock, right?
I think that's been, from my perspective, we owed a company $20 million. We paid them $5 million to cancel the debt and got these assets. That made the deal a good deal.
Yeah.
The biggest surprise after that is understanding that there just hasn't been serious investment. Argonaut appears to have harvested that gold to build their businesses in Nevada and Canada. And so as we've scratched away at the surface, moving from, as you said, residual production to, stabilising to a year, and then looking to the future, and we'll get to the tech reports that sort of feed that. The biggest surprise has, with a bit of investment, and admittedly with a $500 lift in the gold price, that certainly helps. These have quite a significant future. It's why we got 5 rigs at La Colorada. We found that low-grade stockpile that we started mining, as you said. So La Colorada, as of a week ago, we're back putting material in the leach pad. The tech report supports that production into a Creston expansion, a 6-year mine life, growing to 50 to 100,000 ounce a year production.
Right. So, yeah, and you've got you've got a couple of the projects in this situation. I guess the other 2 projects, again, it's a permitting issue, I guess. But you're thinking you can, everything goes perfectly. You can sort of get from A to B and sort of launch one and then another without having to go back and do any kind of large-scale equity dilution.
Yeah, especially large scale. So the great thing about, we've been making about $2 million a month in November and December. So, we'll be able to put the financials out and demonstrate that. We've been able to start to pay back We've paid down $2 million of the $5 million that we borrowed to buy these. We expect to have that completely paid off this quarter. So we're generating good cash flow from the assets. And as you touched on, we're reinvesting those. So we don't need capital to go about our normal business, to operate, to run, to continue to grow. We've got 6 rigs turning in the company today. Where we will need capital is our short-term focus is in 6 months, we'll make an expansion decision at La Colorada.
Right.
And then at the end of the year, we'll be ready to make a decision at Ana Paula. We think we'll only need a small amount of capital for the La Colorada expansion. We think the bulk of that will come from a version of a debt facility.
Right.
So, yeah, we think we can grow to 50 and then to 150,000 ounces of production for very little equity dilution, which is pretty unique and part of, I think, the investment opportunity.
Yeah, it is. It is impressive. And now at Ana Paula, you're drilling there again. It looks like you've got. It looks like you had some new zones come up in the last release, and I think you're also going to be doing test mining. I mean, is that sort of is that underway?
So the test mining we parked when we bought all these new assets. So the original plan standalone was test mining of Ana Paula permit into steady state production.
Right.
We did that because the only financing that was available on competitive terms was for an approach like that.
Right.
You don't often get the chance to de-risk. And so we've now gone the other way. We're going to get that permit, complete the FS, before we push the decline down at the end of this year.
Okay.
And so that's allowed us to do more drilling that you touched on. You know, we drilled 87 metres at 16 grams in December. Yeah. Pretty incredible results. We've got some new zones. Effectively, the more we drill at Ana Paula, both, I think the more we'll find, but also the more we'll convert into the feasibility study. So right. In my heart of hearts, I'd love to go and spend 5 or 10 million and drill really aggressively. Right. We'll measure that as we set the budgets in the next few weeks. And do as much drilling as we reasonably can at Ana Paula to fit that into the feasibility study to make the go decision there. It's a spectacularly wide, high-grade ore body, as you know. Yeah. The sooner we can get that into production, the sooner we can drive some pretty incredible cash flow.
Okay. And in terms of the in terms of the new assets, the mine assets, where do you think you'll be focusing there? Is there is there good stuff to come from some of the other mine assets like San Agustin?
Yeah, I think you're heading down an interesting path. Clearly what we've laid out this year is the first 6 months La Colorada, the second 6 months Ana Paula. That's the core to the business.
Yeah. But
we've got a number of other options. We put out a pretty incredible set of economics on the PEA of San Antonio, but I think San Augustin's a dark horse in the sense that right now it's La Colorada and Ana Paula. The reason for that is we need the permit expansion at San Agustin, which we think we'll get this year. And as soon as we get that, we'll do exactly what we did at La Colorada at San Agustin. Right. Add rigs, look to grow the oxides, and we think the sulfides have some potential. So for those who are watching this interview, I think San Agustin has a lot of sneaky potential. Right. We're just going to wait till we demonstrate that permit's coming. And then we'll deploy some capital there. So just squirrel that away if you're watching this interview. Okay. I like San Agustin. Okay. And just permitting, I mean, there's no real timeline here. We just have to wait and see when the stuff shows up, basically. Correct. We've formally said we want it this year. We're getting some encouraging signals, where the permitting authority is engaging with us, going through it. I think positive permitting outcomes in Mexico will be one of the themes of the first half of this year. Right. Okay. Yeah, that would be huge. It has been sort of a big overhang for everybody down there. So anybody getting a permit's going to help everybody that's there. Okay, that's Heliostar Metals, HSTR, on the venture. Great company. Fantastic. Ana Paula is just a fantastic project. Now they've got 4, development projects, 2 of which are basically in production again. They've gone from being an early stage developer to a producer in a matter of months, which is pretty impressive. I think this is one you really want to be paying attention to. It hasn't really
It hasn't garnered a lot of valuation yet for what it's doing, but I think that's coming, and it's absolutely coming if the permitting situation gets clarified. Then I think Heliostar, gets a lot more expensive very fast. But I think it's going to do really well anyway because everything's moving forward here, and so far, they really haven't missed a step. So, great job, Charles.